Now with our Firebase already set, let's create some deployment scripts, and that we can do here on the Firebase RC. Here we have a list of our projects. We can do a few more entries over here, and this is the way I like to set up. I just add a dev and then a prod project. Right now I'm gonna add both the same project because this is just a example. But for example, if you go back to your Firebase console, here I have a list of projects, and I usually use one project so I can do development in it. And then I created a production project for that website. So on the prod, you would add your production project. And then you can do some scripts, which you're gonna do now. If you go to the package.json, here on the under scripts, let's add a few more. So for example, deploy. We can do first npm run build, and then Firebase use dev, and Firebase deploy. So this command would build our application like we did before here, and set Firebase to use the dev project in here, to use this one, and then we will deploy. Now let's do one for the production. So deploy prod, and here we can do ng build -- prod, and then Firebase use prod and Firebase deploy. So this one we do the same as above, but we're gonna build it for prod, and that won't have any of the source maps, and it will also compress your files to make it really small for the deployment. And then it's gonna use the prod, and this is gonna set your project to be using this production here. In my case, I'm using the same, but that's just an example. So you'd use a dev project and a prod project here, and then you just deploy. Now with that done, we can just use the deployment, these scripts to deploy to our application. So in our terminal, if you do Firebase deploy -- help, it should list a bit of help of the options that you can have. But let's do npm run deploy. So we're first gonna run the build, and then set up our environment to use the development project, and then it's gonna deploy. Now it's being deployed, and here's a link for our application. If you control click in it, it will take to our blog application. And everything works as in our local environment. Now if you got an error here when you reach functions, that's probably is because of the import over here that was set in there, and then the TSLint complained about it. But then you can just comment it out and deploy it again.